Hello friends, today we are going to discuss some points about the jaundice, a very common symptom that may be seen in various diseases. The most important thing is that how to proceed for the diagnosis and how to know what exactly the cause behind the jaundice. So as you know that jaundice is not a disease. In fact, it is a symptom in which the bilirubin, a bile pigment, is increased in the blood and it gives rise to the yellow discoloration to the skin and mucous membrane. So in these patients there is a yellowish tint of the skin as well as the mucous membrane, and it is commonly seen in the white of the eye, that is sclera. So the sclera becomes yellowish, so it is more commonly manifested while examining a patient of the jaundice. If we suspect that this is a case of jaundice, so we examine that patient's sclera, and probably in the natural light, not in the artificial light, because in the natural sunlight it is clearly visible. So the sclera is commonly examined in case of jaundice where this white area seems to be a yellow one. Now, prior to the understanding, because the jaundice may be divided into three categories as per the cause. As you know that liver is an important organ, so the jaundice may be divided into three categories as per the cause is concerned or the etiology is concerned. That is, prior to the livers means pre-hepatic, then hepatic. Pre-hepatic means one is post-hepatic, means any obstruction in the flow of bile. So first thing, the pre-hepatic means the excessive production of the bilirubin, or hepatic when the hepatic cells or hepatocytes are deranged and some derangement and some problem in the liver, and post-hepatic where the flow of bile is obstructed somehow. So there are three things. So prior to the understanding and going towards the causes of discussing the causes of jaundice, let us first discuss about what exactly the bilirubin is. So first let us discuss about the bilirubin. What exactly the bilirubin? Bilirubin is a bile pigment, and how it is produced, let us see. See, it is produced majority means the bilirubin is produced by the degradation of the RBC. The majority means 80%, 80 to 85% of the bilirubin that is contributed by the degradation of the RBC. RBC means the red blood cells. These red blood cells contains the hemoglobin, a pigment. The RBC or the red blood cells, they contain the hemoglobin. What happens that the RBC are destroyed, particularly into the lymphoid tissue, just like the spleen and liver, and the hemoglobin is disintegrated or splitted into the heme portion and the globin. The globin is a protein again splitted into the amino acid, and this amino acid is again utilized in the body. Then the remaining portion, that is heme, it is again splitted into the iron, as well as there is a biliverdin. The biliverdin is a precursor of the bilirubin. The biliverdin is again converted into the bilirubin by the action of biliverdin reductase. So this heme contributes almost 80 to 85% of the bilirubin or the biliverdin production. The rest of the heme containing proteins, they are muscle protein as well as the liver. They contribute almost 15 to 20%, but the majority of this biliverdin, that is again released from the disintegration of the heme. So by the biliverdin, under the influence of the biliverdin reductase, the bilirubin is produced and is obviously released or resides in the blood. Here in the blood there is a protein named as albumin. This albumin has a high affinity towards the bilirubin. So it just make a complex with this bilirubin and carry this bilirubin to the liver. So the bilirubin is carried to the liver by a protein, that is a cheap protein, principal protein in the plasma, and this is carried to the liver. From this liver sinusoids, the bilirubin is then taken up by the hepatocytes or the liver cells. So finally this bilirubin just taken up by the hepatocytes or the liver cells. Now in the liver cells, this bilirubin is now conjugated with the glucuronic acid. A single molecule or two molecules are conjugated with the bilirubin. So it is then known as bilirubin mono, means single, or diglucuronate or glucuronic acid. So now this bilirubin is conjugated. This conjugated means conjugation with the glucuronic acid. Then this conjugated bilirubin becomes water soluble, an important point through which the bilirubin, excess bilirubin, is excreted out of the body. Prior to the conjugation, means up to the liver, this bilirubin remains unconjugated. This unconjugated means without any conjugation with the glucuronic acid. It is not a water soluble entity but a lipid soluble entity, so it cannot be excreted out of the body. As soon as this bilirubin is conjugated with the glucuronic acid, a single, means the mono or diglucuronate, if the two molecules are conjugated, then it becomes the water soluble, and by becomes the water soluble, it is excreted out into the bile. Then what happens, that liver through the right and left hepatic duct, CBD, and finally just send the bile containing this bile pigment also, bilirubin, and finally this bilirubin is just entered into the duodenum or small intestine. Here this is changed into the urobilinogen, a precursor of the urobilin, and a portion of it that changes into the stercobilinogen, a precursor of stercobilin. So this stercobilin is just give the yellow coloration to the stool, and through the stool it is excreted out of the body. So the yellow coloration of the stool or feces is because of this stercobilin, and this urobilin that is excreted out through the kidneys, and some portion of this bilirubin that is again in the intestine, that is again reabsorbed in the body. So in daily routine, almost 2 to 5 milligram bilirubin is produced, and it is just goes through all these changes and finally excreted out of the body through the stercobilin, means through the feces or the stool, and through the urine in the form of urobilin. The urobilinogen and stercobilinogen, they are the precursors of the active form, that is the urobilin and the stercobilin. So this is all about the bilirubin metabolism. By understanding this bilirubin metabolism, you can understand that what are the possible pathologies behind the increase in the bilirubin in the body. Now we again come to the jaundice. I have already explained the definition, and regarding the types of the jaundice, I have told that it is pre-hepatic, it is hepatic, or and finally post-hepatic. So for the better understanding, one should know what are the basic pathologies that may give rise to the formation of a jaundice. Regarding the pre-hepatic, as we have discussed, that the bilirubin is produced by the degradation of the heme, and that too by the degradation or the destruction of the RBC. So it means that if the RBC destruction is increased by some pathological conditions in the body, obviously the excessive heme would be released and the excessive bilirubin shall be produced. So the conditions of the excessive hemolysis, hemolysis means the destruction of the red blood cells. So the excessive all causes that may lead to the excessive destruction of the red blood cells may lead to the formation of the excessive bilirubin. In that condition, though the liver is healthy, but liver has its own capacity to conjugate and excrete the excessive bilirubin. In that case, you would see that there is a excessive unconjugated bilirubin in the blood. So there is a condition that is known as hyperbilirubinemia. There is a condition. Hyper means excess. Bilirubin, you know that this is the bile pigment, and emia means blood. So there is a excessive bile pigment in the blood. The condition is hyperbilirubinemia. Now, so the all conditions in the pre-hepatic, all the conditions, all the clinical conditions that may lead to the excessive destruction of the RBC or the hemolysis may lead to the formation of excessive bilirubin. So these conditions of hemolysis are various pathologies of the RBC, that you know there is a sickle cell anemia. There are two infections like malaria, Kala Ajar. Apart from sickle cell anemia, there is a thalassemia, a condition where almost in each and every case of the major thalassemics, there is the increased hyperbilirubinemia with the normal liver. Some other conditions may also be noticed here in hemolysis. Other hemolytic conditions may also be there, but they are the commonest thing. The major thing is that there is excessive hemolysis. This excessive hemolysis may lead to the formation of the hyperbilirubinemia condition. This is known as the pre-hepatic. I would also like to mention one important thing that has nothing to do with the jaundice, though there is the hyperbilirubinemia, but it is not considered as a case of jaundice. Gilbert syndrome. In the Gilbert syndrome, there is less conjugation of the bilirubin, which may lead to the bilirubin in the blood, and that is unconjugated. So, but this is not a disease rather, and it is a common condition, and almost 5%, 2 to 5% of Indian population has been afflicting with this syndrome, Gilbert syndrome. So this is excluded from this the condition, and in this Gilbert syndrome, basically we may notice the bilirubin level from 1.5 to 4 and even higher, but without any just derangement in the body. It is not considered as a disease. There are certain symptoms may be associated with this Gilbert syndrome, sometimes the pain abdomen, sometimes the nausea, and some vague symptoms like weakness, but this is not considered as a case of true jaundice. So if a person experiences the continuous rise of bilirubin in his or her blood, but otherwise all tests are negative, just like hepatitis B, hepatitis C, etc., then we may consider this Gilbert syndrome, and many cases I have noticed suffering from this Gilbert syndrome. So I will prepare a separate lecture on this Gilbert syndrome. Let us now focus upon the jaundice. Now we have discussed the pre-hepatic causes of the jaundice. Now we come to the hepatic. The hepatic means when by some or others the hepatocytes or the liver is involved. The liver is afflicted. The commonest cause is hepatitis. This hepatitis is commonly viral, and we may see many types of hepatitis like A, B, C, E, etc. These are the commonest. Among this A and E, they are waterborne or orophycal route, and C is caused by some blood contact or the blood transfusion, and both these the hepatitis B is caused by contact of blood as well as the sexual transmission. So these viral hepatitis, they are the common cause of this jaundice. The second is the alcoholic hepatitis. Again a common entity of jaundice due to the long term injury to the liver by the alcohol, and this may lead to particularly alcoholic B and C, they may lead to the cirrhosis of liver. The cirrhosis of liver, where the initial inflammation may lead to the scarring and nodularity and the lack of the function of the liver, which is in many cases irreversible, again a cause of the jaundice, that is the hepatic jaundice. Some other infections and the malignancies may lead to this hepatitis, and there are certain other hepatitis like the drug induced hepatitis, certain drugs that may cause the hepatitis. Drug may causes the damage to the hepatocyte, as well as there are certain drugs that may causes the cholestasis, mean the stasis of the bile flow. The post-hepatic jaundice, that is caused by the obstruction in the passage of the bile. If we see the entire biliary tree, the right hepatic duct and left hepatic duct unites to form the common hepatic duct. It is just joined by the cystic duct over here, through which the gallbladder pumps the bile into this duct, and after this joining, this is known as the common bile duct. This common bile duct just unite again with the pancreatic duct and with the sphincter of Oddi over here, and then through this the bile is poured into the intestine, that is in the duodenum. So any obstruction in this passage, even prior to that area, if there is a hepatocellular carcinoma, there is a obstruction somewhere proximal to the right hepatic duct and left hepatic duct, somehow the malignancy of the gallbladder may press upon this common hepatic duct. There are the stones that may dislodge into this common bile duct, may give rise to the obstruction. That is also a case of choledocholithiasis. And again there is a carcinoma of the head of pancreas that is pressing upon this common bile duct to give rise to the obstruction. So many obstructions in these passages of this common bile duct may lead to the obstructive jaundice. Now the basic thing is that how to differentiate between the obstructive and non-obstructive jaundice, or the prehepatic, hepatic and post-hepatic. So the main thing is that in case of obstructive jaundice, the bile is not secreted into the intestine, so the patient may not have the yellowish coloration of the stool because of the lack of stercobilin that I have already explained. So in that condition, the stool shall be clay colored. Now how to differentiate between the obstruction caused by a malignant tumor or the obstruction caused by a stone? If the obstruction is caused by a stone, what happens that the stone, when the stone enters into the CBD is dilated up to certain extent. So the jaundice is gradually reduced after there is an increment. At the first there is an increment in the jaundice, but body tries to dilate the CBD and a little bit amount of the bile just passes beside the stones. So there is a decrease in the jaundice in due course of time. But if the obstruction is caused by some at the level of this, if gallbladder mass is pressing upon this common hepatic duct, or there is a carcinoma head of the pancreas is pressing upon the CBD, then in this condition there is a gradual increase in the jaundice, and that is known as the progressive jaundice. Means the jaundice is progressive, always progressive. It is not just seems to be regressive, it is always progressive. So there are chances of some malignant afflictions, and the commonest is the carcinoma head of pancreas. In case of the CBD stones, it is not progressive, but it may regress up to certain extent. So this is the difference between these. So these are the three types of the jaundice. Then how to proceed for the diagnosis? First we have to see the symptoms and signs. If we suspect that it may be a case of the excessive hemolysis, then the underlying causes should be identified by simply examining the blood and to see the shape of the red blood cells, as well as the malaria. If there is a malaria, that can be identified by doing certain investigations. Sickle cell anemia is also, and apart from that the thalassemia, there are certain tests to identify that if the patient is a thalassemic. So the cause of excessive hemolysis is obtained. Now in each and every case one should go for the LFT. Then how to analyze the liver function test? First of all, there is total bilirubin. Then indirect, direct, then enzymes SGOT, SGPT, GGT, P. Some proteins also indirectly they are examined, but these are the basic thing. The total bilirubin is raised in almost all of the situation. If it is greater than 1.3, it is known as the hyperbilirubinemia. In case of the hepatitis, the indirect bilirubin is increased more, and in case of the obstruction, the direct bilirubin is increased in greater quantity. In case of the hepatitis, there is excessive raised in the enzymes of the liver, and this GGTP is specifically assigned to the alcoholic injury to the liver, injury caused by the alcohol to the liver. So we can differentiate whether there is an obstruction, and if the enzymes are elevated in excess, so normal, if this normal level is up to the 40, then you can see even up to the 4000 and it up to the 800, 2000, 3000. This is very common. So it suggests that there is excessive liver cell injury, and it is common in the hepatitis. And in case of the obstructive jaundice, the enzymes are not raised up to that extent. In each and every case, one should go for an ultrasonological examination. Ultrasonological examination may just demarcate if there is a hepatomegaly due to the some infections, or if there is an abscess or some liquefaction, just like in case of amoebic liver abscess. It is always preceded by a high degree of the temperature. Apart from that, we can see any tumor over this area, the condition of the gallbladder, if the gallbladder is distended, or in case of the stone, the gallbladder may be contracted. This very small gallbladder is noticed in case of the stones in the multiple stones in the gallbladder, and they may cause the obstructive jaundice. Or we can also see the carcinoma everywhere in the head of the pancreas, as well as the diameter of the CVD may also be noticed. If this is the CVD is dilated, certainly there is an obstruction somewhere distal to that dilatation. So these things may be just noticed by examined by just doing the ultrasonological examinations. If we suspect any CVD dilatation, then in each and every case the ERCP should be performed. ERCP denotes the endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography. What happens that we just insert a tube from the mouth, perform the upper gastroduodenoscopy through that, and when through this inspector of Oddi, this ampulla of water, this scope is passed into the CVD. If any stone is there, that is removed, and we can place a stent inside this. This stent will may help in the just cleaning that CVD, and the severity of the symptoms may be gradually decreased. So there are some basic things and basic understanding about the jaundice. Thank you very much.